Got it. Okay. So I am just going to spotlight you, Grainne. And I'll spotlight me. Okay. Hi, everyone. I just want to invite, and so glad that everyone has come on this evening. So if you're in the UK or Ireland, I want to say good morning. Merry Christmas to you. It's about 9:30 over there. Queensland, we're getting into evening, and New Zealand, you're well and truly nighttime. So Merry Christmas, everyone. And I'm so honored and glad that you're here. I have the pleasure of interviewing the incredible Graham Hood this evening, and maybe Daz Chettle. He's had something come up with his family and he's trying to get here. But if he doesn't, I have got smash suicide. So I'm going to talk about the smash suicide anyway on his behalf. So let's just see how we go there. So firstly, I'd like to introduce Graham to you and just give you a little bit of background, because I don't know if you're like me, but I didn't know anything about this guy up to maybe 3 months ago. And wow, have I seen a lot since then. So I'd just like to share this a little bit with you about Graham. So Graham Hood has been a pilot for 53 years, having obtained his student license before his 16th birthday. He's been a 737 captain for one of the oldest and safest airlines in the world, Qantas. So he started his jet career with Australian Airlines and moved on and progressed on and did many, many nights away from family and home and lots of things like that. His second wife, Michelle, of 15 years, they now have a beautiful blended family of 6 children and 21 grandchildren. They've been working in a ministry, and they've established 15 years ago, they've been involved in restoring broken lives with the 12-step recovery program and providing support for the adult victims of childhood sexual abuse and people with addictions. He's been running manhood programs and supporting men from all walks of life who struggle with depression and porn addiction. They live on a beautiful part of New South Wales, where they continue to have beautiful traditions of Jesus Christ, no judgment beyond this point. They just are servant leaders. Graham has always had a heart to serve others, and he can't stand coercion or bullying. So it was about 3 months ago when I actually heard, drop a 1 in the chat, or if you're watching the comments, if you actually watch the video, because I would encourage everybody to watch the video. I'll never forget it, when he stood up and he took his tie off, his Qantas tie, and he spoke from the heart about how he couldn't be a pilot anymore. And that video impacted me, because it was just like he was this granddad, this grandfather saying, I'm not doing this. He just was towing the line. And he decided to make a public video and a rant about vaccine mandates that he was told has now millions of views around the world. His country, Australia, has lost its spirit, and its people are largely demoralized and wasted. He's been linking with others of like-minded to start a movement of restoration brought about by the most draconian government measures in our short history as a nation. He believes that the continent was stolen from its original inhabitants to establish a penal colony to those beginning it has returned. As a result of his stand against vaccine mandates and forced travel passports, he has sadly resigned from Qantas and is now striving to restore what many of our forebears died to protect us from. The spirit of Australia must not be squandered and must not be returned to the rightful standing. I love that, Graham. Welcome this evening. So Graham, I really want to hone in. I know that so many people have seen you at the rallies. They've seen you, stand there and just go reclaim the line and, heard your passion, you and Michelle, for what you're doing. But I don't know whether a lot of people know about the other stuff you're doing, like Hoodies Helpers. Because to be honest, I don't know an awful lot about that. So I would love you to share with all of us how Hoodies Helpers came about. What is Hoodies Helpers, and where can we find out more about it?
Yeah, great. Thanks for the glowing intro, Grainne, and welcome to everybody. It's good to see smiling faces. Isn't it good to see smiling faces these days? That's gold. That's gold. When I made the rant, I thought, well, that's the end of my career. I don't know how we're going to make a living, because we had no money. We poured everything into this little farm we've got because we could have seen this coming 10 years ago, and we thought we better get self-sufficient really quick. We're halfway through our project, but it got to a point where I just had to, I had to say, well, if God wants the project finished, he owns all the cattle on 1,000 hills, it'll get done. But so I posted the video, and about a week later, I sent in my resignation, which was a pretty tough gig, I have to tell you. When I pressed the send button on the email and heard that noise it makes, I thought, there goes my career, that's it. And Michelle and I cried for most of that day. And then the next morning we got up and we thought, that's it, we've got to start living again. So as we said in the intro, that I was told the video had around 7 million views on all platforms by the time I woke up the next day. And we were absolutely bombarded with thousands of messages. We still get about 30,000 emails and text messages and personal messages every week. And we just don't get a chance to answer them all. But the underlying theme of all these messages was absolute desperation. People were saying, we need your voice. We're in the middle ground just like you. We're sick of being stuck in the middle. We're sick of not being heard. There were so many people who were suicidal. And it was like, whoa, what have I done? What have I stepped into? Now, you mentioned no judgment beyond this point. That's a wooden sign that lives halfway up our driveway on our property. And we've had that for years, and people come here for restorative work. And that's the first thing they see when they drive in, because we believe the only time we should look down on anybody is when we're helping them up. And so we just were overwhelmed by the abject despair of the people in this country, millions of people. And I thought, well, what are we going to do with this? And it got to a stage after several weeks where the threats of potential suicides were so many, and I was trying to contact as many as I could and talk them through it, that one night I put out a video post and I said, I really need help. Michelle is a qualified psychologist, and we were both overwhelmed. And there was a Scottish lass living on a rusty old hulk in the Brisbane River, Diana Maitland, a lovely lady. She was a fired mental health care nurse because she wouldn't go along with the mandate. And out of the blue, she just decided, I'm going to answer the call. And without even talking to us, she set up a thing called Hoodies Helpers. She did a little logo and she just put it out there, created a Facebook page within an hour. And the whole idea was to set up a 24/7 hotline for people who are suicidal to call. And so it was out there and we started talking about it, and there were other people coming on board, and we can use Hoodies Helpers for all kinds of things. We can, the greatest desire for people in this world today is connection. And, if there's a whole bunch of Hoodies Helpers around my area, then we can all get together for coffee. We can go for walks. We can share clothes, or, we can share books. We can help look after each other's kids. And it just grew exponentially. It just went absolutely nuts, to the point that I believe there's some Hoodies Helpers starting in the UK. There's some starting in New Zealand. There's some talk of it happening in America. And so Diana kept developing the website, which is still being developed. And they've finally got a hotline now, and we've got a whole bunch of mental health care professionals who are unemployed because of the mandate, who are now on a roster system. So people can ring the number on the Hoodies Helpers website and book an appointment to talk to somebody that can help them. So that was the original reason we set it up. But since then, everywhere there are Hoodies Helpers, absolutely everywhere. There are Hoodies Helpers at the moment who are arranging carols by candlelight in their local area. There's Hoodies Helpers who are organising Christmas functions. They're inviting people who are lonely into their homes over Christmas. They're arranging Christmas presents for people. They're door knocking to make sure people are okay. There are unemployed teachers who are setting up Zoom groups to help people who are homeschooling their kids. There are tradesmen who are offering their services. I mean, even your lovely husband, Fletch, has just announced that he'd like to help people.
Just blew me away then.
Can I say?
Yeah, of course you can.
Fletch makes dentures for people, and he's offered to help people with dentures. There are people who are sharing their vegetables, growing vegetables and having vegetable swaps. In Ballarat or Bendigo a couple of weeks ago, they had a vegetable swap meet going on there, and a couple of ladies had chairs set up in the park and they were cutting hair for people. It's just phenomenal. Another great thing, there are people who are organising debutante balls for kids who weren't allowed to have their deb ball. So they're organising that to run so the kids don't miss out. And so what we find is, in all the work Michelle and I've done with people with addictions and people who are suicidal and victims of childhood sexual abuse, etc., the one thing that drives addiction and depression and anxiety, the one thing that is common in everybody, is a sense of not being loved, a sense of disconnection, and a sense of rejection. That's the thing that is at the core of every addiction. So every addiction is a band-aid to mask the pain of not feeling loved, not being loved. So what happened was, when we realised that by getting people connecting through Hoodies Helpers, most of them didn't really need to talk to a professional because the connections were being restored. We've started to see this beautiful new tribe building around the world of people who are saying, you know what, the old normal stunk. We don't want to go back there.
I agree.
We want this. We want a new normal where we're connected again. We don't want to live in a world of selfies. And, we became so self-obsessed before this thing happened. All we were interested in is, sharing our smashed avo on toast on Facebook and your beautiful latte with a pine tree on top. And nobody was talking. Nobody was reaching out. Everybody was so self-focused and media driven. But now, on Boxing Day here in the little country town where we live, we've organised a Boxing Day picnic, and we're having egg and spoon races with kids, and we're having sack races and barbecues and people playing cricket, and it's just going to be a big get-together. It doesn't matter whether people are vaxxed or not vaxxed. We don't care. It doesn't matter. But we're creating a new sense of community. So Hoodies Helpers, if you go to any of the Facebooks, or search for it on Telegram, they're in every state. If there's not one in your area, if there's not one in New Zealand, kick one off. It's easy. Just say, that we're setting up a Hoodies Helpers, and it's so simple. All you have to do is say, this is where I live. Is there anyone around here like me that is feeling a bit disconnected? We're talking to people about, if you've got a garage with a bit of room in it, let's collect old clothes and toys and things from each other and set up our own little op shops where we're allowed to go in, and libraries. And so set them up so you can go to Telegram or Facebook. And
what's the website? You said there's a website?
Yeah, www.hoodieshelpers, HOODYS, helpers, all one word, at .com.au.
Okay.
And sorry, darling?
Each state's got one.
Yeah, each state has one.
Hoodies Helpers Queensland, Hoodies Helpers.
Yeah, Hoodies Helpers Queensland, Victoria, New South Wales.
QLD, are they different websites, or do they all come under the umbrella of hoodieshelpers.com.au, and then you can find the states in there?
Yeah, there's only one website, but all the others are Facebook pages or Telegram pages.
Okay.
Now, if you don't like, if you say you haven't found one on the Sunshine Coast, you just go onto the Queensland Facebook or Telegram and say, is there one going in the Sunshine Coast? Because there's probably a dozen or more.
Well, does anyone want to meet up like Caloundra?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Michelle's in the background.
Well, I've got a few girlfriends on here on the Sunshine Coast. I think we might need to coordinate a little Hoodies Helpers Sunshine Coast. Because that's what we're talking about, doing co-ops, going direct, getting families, going direct to the farmer, negotiate, getting rid of the middleman, setting up our little co-ops, going to the factories, getting the industrial toilet papers. So we're never going to run out. We're not going to have to run through Woolies and things like that. All these things we're talking about, getting the cow and cutting it up for the family and across 10 families. So we're all, not helping these huge, big sharehold companies that are fully owned by Vanguard and BlackRock anyway.
We don't need those guys.
No, we don't.
Curb, let's kick him to the curb.
Alternative community.
Michelle's in the background. I should actually get her on the screen.
I know. Come on, Michelle. Come over.
Come over. Go.
Come over.
Go and put a nice top on so you're not sitting in your pajamas.
No.
They're in the background anyway.
You know what happened to me today? I'd love to share what happened to me today. And it just shows what's going on out there in the world. So I don't normally work for my husband's clinic. I always say I'm the missing in action manager because I'm never there. I just kind of pay their wages online and things because I have my own online business. But because of all the mandates and things like that, some of the girls have had to leave. So I can't leave hubby on his own. He doesn't know how to do all the FPOS and things like that. So I've come in to help until we can come up with a solution. So today he saw 14 patients and 6. I just said, I'm crazy in there anyway. I'm like, hello, Merry Christmas. How are you? And 6 people, I said, how are you two? Started crying. 6. They were coming in about their teeth and they started crying. And I came round and I sat next to them and held their hand and said, what's happening? And one of them just said, this is one of the loneliest times of the year or whatever it was. And I'm so lonely. The next lady had adverse reactions. She actually went to a specialist and doctors and things who have now actually said, even though I had an argument last week with a nurse when I went about my daughter's arm, I said, make sure that you aspirate it because my daughter I want to be double jabbed. She wants her part-time job and whatever else. And I said, make sure you aspirate it. And she said, we don't have to aspirate. And I had a full-on argument with her. And this lady has been told by a specialist now that because she didn't get aspirated, that the vaccine went into her, it's gone into her bloodstream and caused all these issues. So she's a mess. The next lady had lost her husband due to a bike. He was cycling and a car killed him 2 years ago. And my heart just went out to these beautiful women. I was hugging them. They're all in deep depressions. They're all lonely. They're all just in their 60s. They don't have partners and I went, you know what? I'm going to take all your numbers and I reckon we do coffee and cake in January. I said, I've met the most amazing ladies today in my husband's clinic and I reckon you're all going to get on. They didn't meet each other. I just said, I met a lovely lady at 11 o'clock. You're going to love her. Do you want to come and meet me in January for coffee and cake? Every one of them were like, oh my gosh, absolutely. I want to come. All I said is, hi, how are you? Are you okay? Whatever. And this is what's happened. So I'm going to gather all these ladies with a couple of my bubbly, crazy ladies. I met a lady at Christmas carols on Sunday and I went into the loo, washing my hands. And I was a bit sad because the song came on that reminded me of my friend whose son's 2-year anniversary is coming up tomorrow. And he was like a son to me. And he passed away at 19 of an aneurysm. And it was just really, really sad. And the song came on and I had to cry. And she comes into the toilet. And now this lady, visualize this, shaved head, here, pink hair, studded earrings all the way down, And I just went, I want to be you when I'm whatever age you are. She said, I'm 80 years of age, girl. And I said, I want to be just like you when I'm 80. And she said, oh, she was a bit sad. Her daughter had passed away. So we had a cry inside in the toilets, and we come out and there's Barry waiting for her. He's 92. So I'm meeting up with them for coffee and cake, and they're going to meet all these lovely ladies. And who knows what might happen with it? Who knows? And you know what? Every one of them, because I tell everyone, I love Jesus. That's all I say to them. I just love Jesus. I go to church. I praise Jesus. I love him. He's transformed my life. I was such a down and out before I met him. And they have all just said, tell me about your church. I said, you know what? I've been to 3 churches over my 15 years as a Christian, and all 3 are very different. So I'll introduce you to maybe the 3. And why don't you go and have a little look and see which one suits you best? And I'll find someone that's at each one, and they can meet you and bring you in and check it out. And you know what? People need God more so than ever at the moment. People are soul searching for God, for Jesus. They're like, if you're real, come and show me, because I don't know what's going on, but I'm scared. I've never seen so much fear in people as what I'm seeing at the moment. I don't know about you, Hoody, but that's what I'm seeing at the moment. Fear and depression and destitute from people. Oh, you're unmuted. Unmute yourself.
You've just started your own Hoodies Helpers. Why don't you just say, right, this is Hoodies Helpers?
Okay, this is Hoodies Helpers, Sunshine Coast.
we just put a call out for Hoodies Helpers for accommodation for a young man and his 2-year-old. We've had a response already, but it's at Palm Beach on the Gold Coast. Somebody's offered a unit. So I mean,
let's put it out. Sunshine Coast. We need a 1-bedroom apartment or a 2-bedroom, preferably a 1-bedroom, because he can't afford a lot. He's a single dad with a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And that's on the Sunshine Coast, if anyone can see.
Michelle's put it out there. So, and she had a response from the Gold Coast already. So, you know,
wow.
And also the person who responded said, if it's no good for that guy, they're happy for somebody else in need to use it. So
wow.
This is what we're talking about. This is just incredible stuff. And you're doing, you know, when you ask somebody, how are you going? And they say, fine. So fine's a weather forecast. How are you really going? You know what I mean?
I love that.
Sandra, I love Sandra with the cap on. She's bouncing up and down. She's such a happy soul.
Do you know that she doesn't have a job anymore? She was a teacher and she is not working anymore because she said, I can't. And her hubby had to be vaccinated because he said, he's a prison officer. And they said, you've literally got a day to be vaccinated, kind of a thing. There was no time. Yep. So Sandra's happy chappy because she's another Jesus believer and she knows he's got her and her family.
Yep.
So I'd love, so we know a little bit about Hoodies Helpers now. I would now, Daz was supposed to be here, Daz Chiddle from New Zealand. And this is something that me and Daz came up with. So it's called Smash Suicide. Daz tried to commit suicide when he was 18, I think it was. I laugh because he's a Kiwi. And I always say he's my brother from another mother. I said he's tattooed from his toenails to his neck, but he loves Jesus with all his heart. He looks like the scariest man you'd ever see. But while he was trying to commit suicide, he put the tube in the car and tried to gas himself, and he ran out of petrol. And I just said, that is so typical. You didn't even check to see if you had enough petrol. I was like, really? If you're going to do it? And he said that was the best thing that ever happened to me because I changed and hope happened. And his life, he's gone on to help thousands and thousands of people from committing suicide. His wife, before he even knew her, she had a really hard upbringing. She ended up getting her stomach pumped at 18 of a pills overdose and ended up having, her pills, getting her stomach pumped. And And she's gone on to be a huge, mighty woman of God as well. And these two people are on a mission. Like, you know, when you have people on a mission to save youth, they've got one of these ramps in their back garden. You'd hate to live next door to them. For kids on the streets to come in and get a sausage snack, to always be welcome, have a safe place to go to. And they have the big skate ramps. And they've set up smashsuicide.com for youth, because there is so much youth out there. I want to read a statistic that I got sent. Thank you, Leah. I love ex-journalists that send you stuff. So the suicide remained. This was from the Children's Health Defence Australian. It was done by Murdoch Children's Research Institute, September 2021. Suicide remained the leading cause of death of children in Australia. Causes of death, children 2020. COVID, 0. Suicide, ages 5 to 17, 99. Suicide, ages 5 to 19, 200. The main risks to children and adolescents' health in this pandemic continues to be due to indirect effects on mental health, well-being, and education, which are worsened by continued lockdowns and schools closures. And that was a research that was done by Murdoch Children. How sad is that? When are we going to say enough is enough? We draw the line. Like, when are parents and people going to stand up and say, I'm not going to have my child locked down anymore? There was children in quarantine that had been exposed, and they were 4 years of age in Ireland, and that were exposed, that were told they had to go into self-quarantine in their homes. So this 4-year-old is on their own in a bedroom for 2 weeks while the mom and dad and everyone else is downstairs, while this child self-isolates on their own. What is that doing to people's health? That 4-year-old's mental health, everything they learn is up to the age of 7. Everything that you get programmed is how you become an adult, is what happens to you up to the age of 7. I don't know whether people know that, but that is a fact. Whatever has happened to you, whatever you've been taught, whatever you've been programmed, up to the age of 7 is how you see the world from then on. So when you see a 50-year-old carry on, they're actually carrying on what they've learned, or they haven't actually got out of that 0 to 7 year programming. We don't know what is going to happen to these children from what's gone on, and how you can help Smash Suicide. So they're in New Zealand. You can get on board. Go to the website, www.smashsuicide.com. Go and help Daz. He does this full time. He makes no other money from anything else. He'll speak the odd time, but support them. Say, you know what, I'm going to support him $5 a month. They're a DGR, so it's all tax deductible. Support someone like that who I volunteer for. He has no admin. Do you know that I checked out last week? It blew my mind. UNICEF's CEO earns $850,000 a year, and he drives a Rolls Royce. Salvation Army, the old person, the old CEO, I don't know when it was, 10 years ago or 8 years ago, used to earn $30,000 a year. Now the CEO, I don't know the exact figures, but it's something around $250,000. Go and support someone that doesn't have a huge administration cost. Smash Suicide has no admin. It's just them wanting to go out and do good with the kids. So just donate $5 a month. It's already set up. The website sets it all up for you. Or donate $10, $20, whatever you can afford. But that's how you can help them. Can people help you financially with Hoodies Helpers as well? Or is it just come with food, come with hair cutting? Can people help financially for people that have lost their jobs? Can people donate to Hoodies Helpers?
We got scammed and spammed a fair bit when it first started. We've had a lot of issues with that. We've been trying not to do any fundraising. There has been some admin costs set up. There is a donate button on the site, but our purpose, if we have to start managing amounts of money that we're going to dish out to other people, it becomes an administrative nightmare. What we're saying to people, we discourage people doing GoFundMe or crowdfunding under the Hoodies Helpers banner, because that creates a nightmare of scamming.
Yeah.
What we're saying is, if anybody in the Hoodies Helpers group knows somebody who needs financial support, then they organise it within the group. So the whole idea is really, we're trying to keep the running costs down so that we don't need money, because the minute you start raising money, you've got to have all kinds of audits, you've got to have insurances. And you know, Michelle and I, Mission Serenity, our organisation, was a not-for-profit DGR, and we never ever got enough money to cover the cost of our audit, let alone the insurances and everything else, because money's not our thing, sadly, which is why we're broke. But no, fundraising, people are very generous within their own groups, and that's all it needs to be. For somebody to come along, like we've had a few people on Hoodies Helpers put up a sob story and wanted support, and there were a couple that we actually knew who were good at that, and we found out that they were quite well off, but they were just trying to scam people.
How can people do that?
Well,
seriously, how can people do that?
And we know some people who are professional. Yeah, and they're professional hard luck stories, and they're making quite a bit of money out of it. So we've been able to nip a few of those in the bud. That's why it's much better that people in the local Hoodies Helpers can work out who really needs the support and who doesn't.
Wow. So, Graham, could I ask you a personal question? Because I know that you have, and you've already kind of given me permission for this, but talking about suicide and smash suicide and DAS and, you know, mental health needs to be out there and everything like that. You actually said in your bio that you suffered with a lot, you know, some depression and things like that. I know with addictions. Was there ever a time that you just thought, I just want out, I can't do this anymore?
I had a porn addiction for 40 plus years.
Wow.
I mean, a raging porn addiction that started when I was 12. And it consumed me. It was the reason I had a criminal record by the time I was 17. I left school by the time I was 13. I never attended school again. And I had a criminal record by the time I was 17, all because of pornography. I stumbled over a couple of girly magazines that were under a bed in the house, in the caravan I lived in as a kid. And life was pretty tough. But I then became addicted, and about 85-90% of the Western world consume pornography. And out of that 85-90%, about 20% become addicted. That's a lot of people. So my whole life was geared up to support this pornography addiction, and my career was great. All that was going well. My first marriage happened for all the wrong reasons. You know, two good people who just should never have been together. We had two wonderful kids out of that. But the porn addiction didn't help that either. The porn addiction became a sex addiction where I was an unfaithful husband. I lived a life without honour, without dignity, without integrity. I lived a hollow life. I completely lost my identity. And it got to a stage so badly in 2006 that I set a date, the 18th of August 2006, that I was going to end my life. And 10 days before that date, I was doing what was going to be my last flight before I went on leave, during which I was going to kill myself. And I went back to go to the toilet on the way to Perth from Brisbane, and I ran into Michelle. And my whole life turned around, and my life has exploded with relevance ever since. The reason I wanted to end it all was because I felt the world would be better off without me. I didn't feel it was a selfish thing. I wasn't going to leave a note. I had insurance set up. I was going to make it look like an accident. And I thought the world was going to be better off without me. I was actually looking forward to the 18th of August. I set the date of the 18th of August because my wife and I then were in a very bad state. And it was an anniversary that she often remembered. And I wanted her to feel the pain of my suicide. I was going to kill myself to punish my ex-wife. I mean, how stupid is that?
Yeah.
So I, at that time I met Michelle, I was an atheist. I had no belief in anything. I was just wanting to get out. And I met her, and she was a lady who had been sexually abused as a child. She was groomed from the age of 3, and she had full digital abuse from the age of 9 for 6 years at the hands of a church elder every weekend. And she was a very formidable lady. She became very tough and strong as a result of that. She's very intelligent. She's got degrees in law and nursing and psychology. And she was formidable, a very formidable lady when I saw her, but she took my breath away. And I was in this situation where I felt I had nothing to lose. So I kept a conversation going with her, and this was on board the airplane. And I had to go back to the cockpit to do some work. And I said, it's a shame we've got to end this conversation. And she said, well, what are you doing tomorrow? I said, well, I'm in Perth all day tomorrow. I'm overnighting tonight. And we met the next day, and we've been inseparable ever since. We fell in love immediately. And she gave me a reason to be honourable. God told her, in the first 15 minutes of our conversation, I told her I was a sex addict and that I was depressed and suicidal. And she told me she was the adult victim of childhood sexual abuse. Why would somebody who has been the victim of predatory men want to strike up a conversation with somebody who was a predatory male?
Wow. Because God showed her your heart.
She said God showed her that I can be trusted. And she said, I am the only man she's ever trusted in her entire life. So what I desperately needed in my whole life, why I wanted to kill myself, was because I felt that I'd blown any chance I had at honor. I thought there's no way in the world I can ever have honor. And now I've realized the thing that got me into Jesus was 15 years ago, just like you. I was an atheist 15 years ago. And when Michelle decided she wanted to go back to a church and be baptized, I said, I'll go along with you, but I'm not interested. I'll go with you to be your bodyguard. Because as an abused survivor, when she came out about her abuse, she was victimized by the church very badly. And she said church wasn't a safe place for her because her perpetrator was a church elder and Sabbath school teacher. But I said to her, look, if you really want to go back to church, I'll go with you every Saturday because we're Seventh-day Adventists. And I said, I'll just sit next to you. I just love being with you, and I'll be your bodyguard. And the first sermon I heard when I went into this church that day hit me like a truck. And within 6 weeks, we'd both put our hands up to be baptized, and we were married and baptized on the 15th of December in 2007. Just 4 days after she nearly died, she had a massive subdural hematoma. And I was told while she was in hospital, just 3 weeks before we got married, that she probably wasn't going to live. And God works some amazing miracles. And I vowed and declared to God when I thought she was going to die, the doctor told me she probably wasn't going to survive. I vowed and declared to God that if he would save her, I'll serve him for the rest of my life. And then I realized I was putting a condition on God. And I said, no, God, I take all that back. I am going to serve you for the rest of my life. But if in the process you would keep her alive to be with me, Lord, I'd be incredibly grateful forever. And he did. And there was a miracle happened. This is a long story that could go on for 2 hours.
No. Do you know what? I'm sitting here and I'm feeling prompted, and we had no idea that this was going to be shared. But 15 years ago, on that same year, 2006, 2007, I had been an addict, and 3 days I decided, I felt God, I got some stirrings, and I felt that I didn't need it. 2 days, like let's say on a Friday, on a Sunday, I walked into church for the first time as a family. We walked into church with my little baby, who was 15 months old at the time, and my boy and my hubby. And it impacted us so much, this service. And we came home and I rang my girlfriend and I said, I believe that Jesus, I acknowledge that Jesus died on the cross for my sins, and I'm his, you know, I ask for forgiveness and I'm his. Thought no more of it. That was at 12 o'clock. At 12:30, we had left the gate pool open because Ruby was in her cot. Harry was with his friend out in the pool, and Ruby got up and she was this big and she got through a doggy flap, and Harry and them went out to the pool and we had the door shut and I'm cooking, and all I heard was, there's a big rag doll in the pool. And they said, that's not a rag doll, that's Ruby. And my daughter was dead in the pool. She was floating in the middle. And my husband dived in, you met Fletch, and he did CPR on her and he said, don't die, Ruby. And I was out the front, lay on the grass, like in a cross, going, you've got me for life. Please don't take my baby. Please don't take my baby. You've got me for life anyway. And God is so good that 3 days before that, there was a CPR chart next to my husband's alarm system at his work that he had never, ever read. And he read it that day. He got prompted. And that day, I had a man come in who was a new born-again Christian, and he was around my house and he grabbed me and went, how did that dog get in that pool? And I went, oh, there's a gap in the thing. And he went, can a baby fit through? And I went, no. And he had seen a vision of Ruby dead in the pool. And he started praying for her 3 days beforehand. And Ruby came back. Once she got in the ambulance, my husband brought her back. She was dead. There was no heartbeat, no pulse. And he just felt there was something there helping him. And by the time the ambulance arrived, this woman was running between us and she just said, there's a pulse. There's a pulse, but she's still unconscious. And the ambulance, she was unconscious the whole way up in the ambulance. But I had the peace that surpassed all understanding. I knew she was going to be okay. And they said, she may have brain damage, she may have this, she may have that. And I just went, she's going to be fine. And she sat up and she looked at me just before we went in. And that was the exact same year as what happened to you with your wife. And my life has never been the same since.
Yeah, that's how God works.
Yeah, that's our God.
And I never quite understood what they were talking about in the church. I mean, it was all foreign to me, even though I wanted to be baptized. I'm thinking, they're talking about Revelation and Daniel and, you know, the end time and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, I don't get all of this stuff. So I really needed to know who Jesus was. So I spent about 6 months just thinking about Jesus and reading about him. And the day it really got me was when I realized that somebody I'd never met 2,000 years ago died the worst death on a cross, so a filthy porn addict like me could have a second chance. That's when I was sold.
Yeah.
That's when I was gone. And I haven't looked back since. I had stumbled into my addiction a few times since. Michelle and I have talked about it. I remember telling her once that I'd had a fall back into it briefly, and I was expecting her to say, how can I ever trust you again? You were horrible. You know, you're just like every other man. And Satan was telling me that's what she was going to say, but Jesus said, you know what you've got to do, just tell her. And I said to her, honey, I've got something to confess to you. And she said, what is it? I said, well, 6 weeks ago when I was in Adelaide on that overnight, I was feeling really down and I flicked open my computer and I stumbled back into porn. And I just held my breath thinking that's the end of a beautiful relationship. And she looked at me with this lovely wisdom about her. And she said, honey, are you okay? And I said, no, I couldn't feel any worse. And then she said, was it anything I did? And I said, no, sweetheart, I've had this since I was 12 years old. This isn't your addiction, it's mine. And then the clincher was, what can I do to help you? And I looked at her and I said, that's what Jesus would say.
Wow.
And I started writing a little book, which I'm yet to finish, called The Jesus Response. Now, how profound that is very clear, because when you feel your addiction is to mask the pain of not being loved and being rejected, when you get caught in your addiction, the human response is for you to be rejected by the person who's been wounded by you. And what that does is drive you deeper into the rejection, which makes you need the addiction more. So instead of giving me the human response, which would have doomed me into the addiction again, she gave me a Jesus response, which elevated me out of it. So we do a lot of work with broken couples, and I do a lot of work with men. And in those conversations, I talk about this Jesus response. We have to love our family members, our partners through their addiction, not isolate and condemn them. It only makes it worse. So,
absolutely. And shame, it says it in the Bible, you know, the minute something is said out, the devil doesn't have any more power over it anymore.
yeah.
When it's in and it's ruminating in your head, she's going to leave you. You're going to be on your own. You're going to live in a studio. There's no one going to love you. You're going to, it's going to be the worst ever. And it's all hidden inside you. But the minute you say it out, or the minute you say, I need help, or the minute you actually express yourself and say to people, I'm struggling, I need help, that power that the devil had over you is gone.
Your strength lies in your vulnerability. If you admit that you don't know the answer, or if you admit that you are struggling, you will get help. I mean, look at that accommodation offer we talked about already. People are ready to help.
I've already got lots. I've got lots.
You've got lots of offers of
Wow.
accommodation
I've got lots of offers.
on the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah, on the Sunshine Coast.
Where we found accommodation on the Sunshine Coast.
Because I know him. And
Well,
he said he was going to take his life this week.
Mount Cooler,
Mount Cooler,
there's someone.
Wow.
Warren Park.
Warren Park. There's accommodation everywhere popping up.
I need to talk to her later.
Yeah, we'll talk to you
Wow.
after. Can we get on with this? Do you mind if we get on with this? Soon?
How long are we supposed to do this? We've been on 45 minutes. Does everyone want us to get off?
No. That's nobody wants to get off. I mean, I've got to do another Zoom soon. But
We should actually put it out there as well once you finish, to maybe Q&A. If anyone's got any questions they want to ask, or if they want to share a story or something, what do you think?
I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy.
Well, I'd love you to continue. Just continue on. Where were we at? You're such a great storyteller.
I think
The shame about this addiction. And look, I know with alcohol, I gave up alcohol. Now I have a little granny shandy. It's so sad. It's like this amount of gold with this amount of lemonade. But for years, I was a Christian who struggled because I'm Irish. So we love alcohol. I love partying. I love being the last one to bed. I'm always there with the, I'm the party girl. And I struggled with Christianity and not drinking and things. I was like, but that's not me. And then I would feel the shame and guilt and blah, blah, and for 3 days. And what did I say? And the blackouts and the awful feelings. And 3 years ago, I can't, do you know what it did? Someone said, a little girl said, oh my gosh, you're like an old granny. You're so old looking. And I'm not joking you, I just was like, oh my gosh, I've been in Ireland for a month and that's what I look like. I was so old looking because of drinking. And I got on the plane and decided I was going to go off it for a month. And I want everyone to know there's a big shout out. There is so many Facebook groups, if you're struggling, where there is no condemnation at all. There's like drunken mummies, but the one I'd been on was sober inspired pirates. It's not like an AA, it's sober inspired pirates. It's just people that have a bit of control issues, and that helped me so much. I did it for a month and then I went, do you know what? I'm going to do it for 3 months because they're all doing it. And they're like, come on, you can keep going. And then you'd go on and somebody would say, had the worst night ever, had a fight with my kids, blah, 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 drank 2 bottles of wine, don't remember how I got home, feel like crap. And everyone would say, keep going. Don't say that you're back to day one. You're at day 107. You've had one blip. 107 with one blip. Keep going. And it was the encouragement and love that got me through to a year. Then it got me through to 2 years. And now I'm here at 2.5 years with a Facebook group that I've never met the people. I love them all. We've all got our own journeys and stories. So that's Sober Inspired Pirates. If anyone's struggling with alcohol that you want to get on there, or I think there's a Drunken Mummies one that's fun as well. Go to where there's people. They will not judge you. I promise you, I've been in there and I'm an administrator of that group. They will not judge you at all. And I think that's what we need to do, Graham, is let people know that there is no judgment or condemnation when you make a mistake. it's a work in progress. And with Jesus by your side, it's a work in progress. Never allow the enemy to take you down with guilt and shame.
Well, we're getting offers of money. We're getting many offers of accommodation.
I know nothing about him at all, so it's very difficult.
Well, I know lots about him.
Okay.
I know lots about him, and I know lots about his little boy and things. So this will
to do the work.
Yeah, look,
I will do the work.
We've got to remember we're doing a live, so we're forgetting there's a lot of people watching. We've got to meet each other's emotional needs is one of the biggest things that we've realised. We've got to learn how to speak each other's love languages. There's that great book, The 5 Love Languages.
Oh, the best. Have you done the questionnaire online?
Yeah, we actually teach it. So yeah, we've done hundreds of them. So
but it's free. Yeah.
But our relationship is such that when we met, I couldn't think of anything that I would change about Michelle. Nothing. I thought God created her perfect just the way she is. And I know a lot of people tend to go into relationships where they say, I'd like to, he or she, they're not too bad. If only they wouldn't do this or wouldn't do that. If only that would change. But I thought, no, I don't want to change anything about her. I don't have any right to change her. God created her. So I realised that my role in her life was to be the ranger in her national park. And explaining that is I love wedge-tailed eagles. I've flown amongst wedge-tailed eagles in a light aircraft, and they're the most impressive bird. And I would never, ever go and visit one in a zoo because it would break my heart to see one caged up. And I see her as a wedge-tailed eagle. And for me, the best place to see her in a natural habitat is in the national park where she's safe. And as her ranger, it's my responsibility to know what her boundaries are, patrol them and protect them. And then she just gets to flourish the way God wants her to. And the beauty of that relationship is she does the same for me. So we have this wonderful connection that is wrapped around Christ as the central cord, and it's so healing. And we use it as an example when we do a lot of couples retreats, and that have been really successful. So relationships, especially now in what we're going through, we have to make sure that our relationships, our love tanks are full. We have to make sure that our partners' love tanks are full, that we're nurturing each other. We've got to remember things like the best gift we can give our children is a happy marriage. We model marriage to our children. These are all vital things that are very important at the moment. And the other thing, while we're talking about children, that's vital and important is the mandates that are coming out by the end of January for kids. I'm an ambassador for Parents with Questions website. It's a group of amazing businessmen who poured a lot of money into setting up this website called Parents with Questions. There's a lot of influential celebrities on there, and it's a website designed to seek answers for people who are thinking about whether they should get their kids vaccinated or not, and they are going gangbusters. So anybody who's thinking about where do I go to get support to understand whether I should get my children jabbed or not, it's www.parentswithquestions.com.au. There are some amazing people. You can log on there. You can create a short video on there with your questions, and they're interviewing incredible people. Dr. Nikolai Petrovsky's being interviewed on there on Wednesday night, talking about the jab and children and stuff like that. So I strongly recommend that people really understand this. And the other arm of what I'm doing is Hoodies Heroes, which is getting men to stand in the breach where they've vacated for many years. A lot of women have been asking, where have all the real men gone? And I want to get the Anzac spirit back by getting men back to where they were, where women feel empowered by having men who are empowered, where women and children are safe, where empowered men aren't macho alpha males running around sort of flexing muscles, but the quiet sheepdog that sits on the hill that makes everyone feel safe. We've got a lot of work to do to rebuild our society, and there's a lot happening. And the sad part is I'm going to be 69 in a couple of weeks and I don't have much time left, but
give over. I met a guy the other night, he's 92. Come on, you'll stick with him, you'll get up there. You've got a good 20 odd years. You've got too much to be doing.
You got to remember that in the last 3 years, I've aged 30 years. In the last 3 months, I've aged 30 years with all this stuff.
Well, can you promise me you'll have...
I get to look at myself on this screen every night, and every night I look at it and I go,
can you promise me you will have rest? Because one thing that Des Cheddle taught me, and if he was on here, I went to his training, evangelist training. And one thing, because you've got a heart like mine, Graham, and for all the people that are listening, that are people givers, that we love to give. We just genuinely love to give. He brought out a China cup of tea and a saucer. And he just went, this is what I want you to know. God fills up the cup of tea. That's you. He fills it to the top. And he was showing all the water overflowing out of the cup. And he held the cup full. And he went, you see the saucer? And he chucked it at us. That's the overflow that you give to everybody. That's what you give. You must stay full yourself. And you need to promise me, Graham and Michelle, that you're going to take a rest. I've heard lots of people say on your site, please, Graham, you're looking really tired. Please, Graham, you need to rest. You need to rest. So will you promise us on here?
We are at war at the moment, and I'll rest.
I know we are.
I'll rest when the war's over. You can't. We're not in a position just to say, you know what, I need to have a rest. We're at war. We really are at war. And I'll call on God to give me all the strength that I need to do what I have to do. But at the moment, the thought of having lengthy periods of rest just doesn't sit. And I'm good at giving that advice to a lot of people too. You know what I mean? But really, I mean, when the Blitz was on in London, and when people in Germany were being bombed into oblivion during World War II, they didn't rest. They had to put up with it until it was finished.
I know.
And this is not just some little, we'll be right sort of thing. She'll be right in Australia used to mean, it used to mean, don't worry, we'll get through this. But she'll be right now in Australia means I don't care.
Yeah, I agree.
And old guys like me who've been around the block a few times, we need to be standing up more than ever. So I'll rest when the battle's over.
A lady, Nira, is just asking, what's the men's webpage address again? Is there a webpage or a Facebook group or something about the men's heroes?
It's being built. It's called Hoodies Heroes.
And so HWODYS?
HOODIES Heroes, as opposed to Hoodies, HOODYS, helpers.
Oh, you just got messing with my brain now.
Hoodies Heroes has to be separate from Hoodies Helpers.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Sandra, the teacher, is sorting us out.
Sandra's got it. Good on you, Sandra. She's a powerhouse, that little chick. She's unreal.
She is. She's a powerhouse.
Yeah,
so look, I know you need to go on another Zoom now, and I know your time is so precious. We've had an hour of you. I am so grateful to have had an hour with you, Graham, and just thank you so much for everything you're doing on behalf of Australia. Even though I'm Irish, but I've lived here for 33 years. I want to say thank you for you taking that mantle. It's like the Olympic torch. And I want to say there is more of us, and I'm taking it too. And I know there's a lot of people on here today that are saying, I'm with you as well. So you don't need to do this on your own. We're going to create Hoodies helpers everywhere. So call to action, people on here. If you're a Christian, I want you to pray about, ask God, what is it that I can do? Is it that I can chop hair, cook meals, that I can invite someone around, set up a morning tea, do something? Or is it that you can do a Hoodies helpers, or just ask God what it is. If you're not that way inclined, just feel inside you, what do you feel like you can really do to help? What is it that you've got that you can give? Doesn't need to be money. A lot of the time it's just sitting around with somebody and loving on people and being there for people. So smashsuicide.com, hoodieshelpers.com.au, and then you'll find, and then hoodiesheroes.com.au.
And parents with questions.
And parents with questions. That's really important, because my kids, the other thing I really feel as well, just for 2 minutes, my family are a mixed bunch with the jab and not jab. My husband, we were going to lose our business if he didn't get vaccinated. So he did. I'm okay with that. I'm medically exempt. He did it. I said, it's your body, pro-choice. I have so many people give me a hard time going, I hate you, anti-vaxxer, that you won't let your children be vaccinated. My daughter has been vaccinated. She's 16. She wanted to be. My son makes up his own mind. So don't cause division because of people being and not being vaccinated. That's what they want. They want division in homes. They want division in families. They want division. Don't create division. If someone says to you, you're not allowed to enter my house on Christmas Day, and it's your family and you love them, unless you've done a PCR, just say, look, I'll do a rapid antigen that's a saliva one. I do then. Like, if that's what's going to appease them, I won't do something up my nose, but if it's just something that's saliva, because you need to be around family and people, we need to not separate. So we need to just be together. So thank you so much, Graham. Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to Michelle. I'll be in touch with her to get all these details on what's after happening. I'm excited to know about Hoodies Helpers, and I think I'm part of the Sunshine Coast now.
Yeah, there you go. And Sandra's going to be in it too. You can tell by the...
Sandra's in Kellyville. She's New South Wales. So you got anyone in Kellyville? We've got Sandra.
And you Kiwis, get it happening over there.
Yeah, Jules, Deb.
Everybody join the group. I've just joined the group.
Yay.
Good on you. There you go.
Whoop.
See, we're all Anzacs. We've got to fight this together.
We do, for sure. Okay.
Right. We'll organise this young man to get sorted, and God bless you all. Merry Christmas. Look to love somebody who's going to slip through the cracks. We can't let anyone go through the cracks this Christmas. God bless you all.
Do your Hoodies trees thing that you say.
Stay out of the trees, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.